Hey everybody, welcome to the Beehive. I'm your host, TheBee at LLC, and this is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. Our pollen is silver and our nectar is gold. Preserving our wealth is honey of old. Like ancient metals, we hold our own. And today we are going to be discussing the first ever Crystalline Osmium Institute Symposium in Denver, Colorado. So I'm excited for this upcoming event, and we have Space Miner here joining us to talk about it a little bit, bring it to your awareness. So let's bring in Space Miner. Space Miner, hello, hello. How we doing?
How you guys doing?
Welcome in, Kevin. Good to see you. And yeah, so we have some exciting news that we're going to be hosting here in Denver, Colorado, the first ever Osmium Symposium. So we're gonna learn all about it, and I'm excited because it's gonna be here in Denver, Colorado. So that's where I'm located, so I don't have to travel far, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to be our first one, so it should be interesting. We're just kind of getting all this lined up and figured out ourselves. So, but yeah, I think we have, as far as an itinerary, we have some exciting things already on the list, and yeah, I guess we can go over those now. Is there anything you wanna say about the overall event before we get into it?
I think this is really cool, and this is a awesome opportunity for the American market to kind of show itself. And like you were saying, it's the first time that we're going to hold this in America. We're going to hold a regional event, and so I'm super excited. And that's your state too,
right?
That's Colorado is your state, and so that's got to be a little bit exciting for you too, I imagine.
It is. I'm quite excited about it, and feel very lucky and privileged to be hosting it in this state. And so yeah, I'm over the edge about it. Quite excited. Chu, welcome in. Good to see you. So yeah, we're going to be having the team from Germany. They're going to be coming over. There is an event they're going to be going to in Vegas, which is a really big jewelry show. And we were all thinking about making it there, but it turns out we're going to just meet them here in Denver. So I think they'll be coming in to Denver from that show. And I think we're going to be having, let's see, I don't know if you know who else coming from Germany. I think we're going to have Scarlett is going to be there. Stephanie, Margarita.
And we're going to have our Mexican Institute partner. And she's from Mexico City, I believe. And so that'll be cool to have Mexico there representing as well.
Yeah. And do you know if Nicole's going to make it or not? I don't know if I didn't hear if she was going to be.
I'm not completely sure. You never know. I mean, they're pretty spontaneous people. I think if they can be there, they will be there, you know?
Yeah, so it'll be exciting for me, as it'll be the first time I get to meet some of the German team in person anyway. So that's exciting. And of course, we'll have pretty much all of our state and local USA partners will be there. I don't think Chris can make it from Florida. And also, I believe Michael is not going to make it either. I'm not sure, from California. So, but everybody else should be there. Ian, of course, will be there. And I believe we're going to be having some jewelers possibly be meeting us there as well. And some people will be there who know a lot about advertising. And and then the German team themselves, who knows, all the ins and outs of what's going on. So I think there'll be a lot to be learned there. I know I'm excited. I have a lot to learn about it, so I think I'm going to be inundated with information, but excited about it. Welcome in Vegas Smacker and OC Stacker. Good to see you guys.
Oh, did they show up? Let me see.
And
what up, y'all?
So and we also may be hearing from the creator of the Crystalline, Osmium himself, which is really exciting. And I'm really excited about hearing about that. And it's possible that even may be available to the public. So we're going to try to we're still kind of hashing out the itinerary, but I think we're trying to make it available for the public on possibly 2 days. But I think we're going to at least get 1 day, make it just open to public. And so you can definitely come on that day if anyone is really interested themselves in it and wants more from the conference, from the symposium. You can reach out to me at longlivecoins@gmail.com and get in touch with me, and we can talk about what all we can do. So if anybody is interested in osmium, crystalline osmium, it's a new exciting precious metal, the 8th and last precious metal to be brought to the market. It's the most dense element that we know of anything, and probably the most noble, meaning uncorrosive. And so some amazing attributes, let alone the built-in code that entrusts the piece to you and that allows you to both buy and sell and not have to worry about theft. So yes, the 8th wonder of the world, 888. That's exactly right. And so
it is a wonder.
You should make it up to Denver for I don't know if it's up or over or where you're at, but anybody, if I would love to have you come and hang out and get in touch with me, and we'll make it happen, because this is going to be an exciting event. And what do you think, Space Miners? Is this going to be cool or what?
Dude, it's going to be loaded. I think we're all going to be, as the partners, going to be extremely busy.
Yes.
During this time. I'm really pushing hard for the public interface myself. And if anything, I'm going to be spending the evenings kind of wandering about. And so I think it's a good opportunity for anybody in the area to just get a hold of us and catch us.
Yep.
Contact any one of the Institute members, and we'll be happy to put you in line with somebody in your area, get as close as possible to you. And it's going to be a rare opportunity to get so much consistent and just a full download of the information. Like, if there was ever a time to really discover it and really ask the questions, this would be the time. I mean, you have all the minds. You have some of the best minds in Osmium working on this, and we're going to be there. And we're going to be learning.
This Space Miner's mind on Osmium has everybody's jaw dropped. Whenever we have meetings and we talk about these things, and every time we introduced Mr. Space Miner over here and ask him to explain a little bit about what he enjoys about the metal, is learning about the metal, is learning about the metal, is doing with the metal, everybody's jaw is on the floor by the time he's done talking. So it's this, I don't know, for some reason I think he got lucky when he found this metal, because It's just like natural for him. So I think he's got some new exciting stuff that he's going to be showing. I know I have a new piece that I'm hoping to have done. Hopefully I'll have my new line of osmium nectar in by that point. If they don't bring it over themselves personally, it might line up with that too. I'm not sure. But so there's going to be lots to see. I think they're going to have some very, amazing jewelry there that is beyond my wildest imaginations. And there's going to be, so, it's not just going to be me and Space Miner. It's going to be Ian, some of the other states are going to be here. We're going to have Texas, I think, is coming up. We have, is that
well, we may have Bruna. We may have Bruna there, and she does a lot of work in Latin and South America, and occasionally works out of Florida, and she's all over the place. So Bruna may be there as well. So we're going to have Mexico there. We're going to have Bruna there. We're going to have, and she could most likely represent Florida for this matter.
Is Nick going to be there? Do you know? Or I can't remember if he said he was going to make it or not.
I don't know, but I sure hope he shows.
Yeah, me too.
He's a valuable contributor to Osmium. He's doing a lot of work, and he's really stepping outside. I think of his own comfort zones a little bit to pull some of his products together. He's going through educational processes.
Yep.
He's doing everything you would want out of your jeweler. When somebody that's really just fully committing and has the creativity, the understanding of his locals, really trying to work towards his, contributing to his local environment. Nick's, dude, he's great. He's such a pleasure to have around.
Yeah, no, he's doing great things with the metal, and good guy as well. So, that'd be nice. Triple Eight, great. But if you can't make it, again, we would love to have you in person. Anybody that would be in the area, the 10th through the 14th, basically. I think it will probably be the 12th and 13th will be more towards the public opening side of it. But again, if you want more information than just attending for the public, get a hold of me directly, and we'll see what we can do. And but if you can't make it in person, then we're also I'm going to be live streaming. Or I'm, if all works out as planned, I will be live streaming there, and I'm hoping to have a live stream with all of the Institute partners, even that can't make it in person for the show. I'm hoping to get them on a live stream panel together. Trying to get that set up, and it sounds like most everyone, if not everyone, will be able to make it. So, stay tuned for it. When we'll have more information coming out as we go. We're learning more and trying to get an itinerary lined up a little bit, nailed down a little bit better. But I just wanted to bring this out to everybody and give everybody a heads up that it's happening, and these are the dates when it's going on. And we're going to try to make it open to the public as well at some point. So, and for us that are really interested in this metal, we're going to be hearing from at least, and I'm not sure if this part will be open to the public, but it may be. We're hoping it will be. We're trying. But either way, we're going to be hearing from the man who created it and is creating it. And so that's really exciting. So we'll see if we can get that open to the public. I think that would be well worth a trip, let alone just getting to meet everybody who has come at it from a different angle. But we're all enthusiastic about the metal, and there will be a lot of examples, I think, to see of jewelry, because we're gonna have some jewelers there. And so the information will be invaluable for those who are interested in the metal.
Yeah, and again, the purpose of this is to make sure that all the institute partners are well educated in the different subcategories of precious metals investment, jewelry, handling and care of jewelry making. The Osmium Institute puts a lot of effort into education, and they hold a very high standard. Like we have continual education, we have continual meetings about getting educated, and more instructionals on the way, and so whenever we put together an event like this, a huge part of this is simply that, it's education, to make sure that we don't misinform or misrepresent, or
For sure.
that we don't even understand. It's important that we all understand the world's market as it is in a current situation, and that takes and that takes a certain sense of dedication, and it takes a definite ethic to continually educate yourself, because knowledge advances a lot, and what you knew yesterday isn't as relevant as what you know today,
Right.
So but also, the other part of this is the public interface. This is getting people that are seriously minded, and an opportunity to really dive in and learn, to understand the more peculiar aspects of osmium, and crystallized osmium, and it's just like going from silver to gold can be a learning exercise, and it is. We all had to take our turn learning gold. We all had to learn our silver. We all had to learn our gold. And then we stepped into our platinums and our rhodiums and palladiums and onward, And in our circle, there's a lot of people that are invested in alternative investment metals. We have everything from copper and nickel to osmium and rhodium to silver and gold. And I mean, so this is so breaching that learning curve with the market is it can be kind of a large task, but once it's performed, I think most people get it. Once they take a little bit of time with the metal, they get it and they understand it, and they see the value of the metal, of your investments. You know. So wow, look at that's a great picture.
Yeah, not bad.
That light sure does go, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're trying. We're really trying to get out there and meet people, and there are a lot of people that are already that have already, man, I don't even know how they got scheduled, to be honest. But there's already a bunch of seriously minded people from the public involved right now, and we'll be meeting with a lot of them. And so when we're saying, if you guys have a serious interest or just a faint interest, this is a really good time to get all your questions answered, and see it and feel it, because there's nothing like holding osmium. Once you hold it and see it in person and see it in the daylight, it's much more than can ever be shown on that video.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's for sure. Getting to see it in person, and especially like at this symposium, you're gonna have some amazing jewelry, I'm sure, that I'm excited to see as well. And
likely some large pieces,
And for those interested in jewelry, like I think you can probably learn a lot as well, because there will be jewelers there. Well, I'm sure the conversations on how they set that or what they did or ideas that they have, I think there will be a lot of good info on that as well.
Well, can I take a second and segue off of that for a moment?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, crystallized osmium for jewelry the jewelry, the finished good sitting on a shelf is not the entire part of the jewelry industry. You know, if you think it's good for jewelry and you really see a future in the jewelry, but you're not prepared to make a bunch of jewelry yourself, or you're not even interested in making the jewelry yourself, but you just think it'll be successful in the jewelry industry, then what you do is you grab discs or bars, the larger investment grade discs and bars. You cut out some of your cost of the cutting, and get closer to your spot values of the metal. And that's what a lot of these people are doing, and that's what a lot of these people are coming here for. You know, not every one of these guys is planning to have a bunch of pieces cut specifically for them. They're going to grab a couple. They're going to grab a couple pieces and learn how to navigate the market, and walk out of there and wait for the metal to do its work. And someday they're going to come back and they're going to sell it to a jeweler that does want it cut up, that does want this shape and this size. And unless they want to shop it out, you know, from other people, if they want a custom shape, if that shape hasn't been cut, like, listen, once the Institute's done crystallizing all of this here, once the Institute is done crystallizing the available supply, okay, that means what's out there is what's out there. Meaning, if that special little shape that you wanted cut has not been cut, you're going to have to find a private hand to grab this from. You're going to have to find a jewelry house that grabbed enough osmium to cut up. You're going to have to find somebody that has a square or a rectangle or a circle that's big enough for you. You know, a disc. And so this is what a lot of these people are capitalizing on. They're saying, you know what? I think there will be a future in it in watches. And because I'm not the one designing the watches, I'll just grab the bars and wait for the watchmakers, you know what I mean, to come to me. And after a while of holding the metal, just like gold and silver, you know, you have a little bit of spread to work with where you're still in your profit, where you can be a competitive seller of a good, you know, with one good investment. You could build your spread over time and become marketable and profitable and competitive yourself. You know, and that's how some of these guys are seeing that. You know, they're like, I don't know what people want. I don't have a jewelry house. I'm not making watches. You know, I'm not putting this into bullion. But, you know, rare is rare. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. And why not hold some for just the appreciation of the most unique, most dense, most, you know, all these different traits, you know, and just have some and ride the market, you know. I mean, that's why I mean, the jewelry aspect of it can be totally disregarded if you want to, or long term, because once you have it, now you have all the time in the world to figure out if you want to design something out of it or just hold it. But getting into it is going to be the key.
Yeah, and again, with crystallized osmium compared to like some of your competitor osmium sources, like, and I wouldn't even call them competitors. Like, osmium doesn't like really compete. It just kind of is the value it is. Almost every source of osmium you go to, it's just whatever their value is. Every single one of these guys have their own price points because their level of investment on getting a hold of it in the first place. You see? Yeah. And so, but the beauty of the crystallized osmium is it makes it directly usable. It's one of the ways you don't have to be a skilled craftsman to enter into that market. You don't have to know how to melt it down or anything. You can just get a whole bunch of pieces pre-cut and plan on using them later. But it's not like buying an osmium pellet arc bead. It's not like buying a sintered bar. You know, this is something you can take and directly use it into something without ever having to affect the initial investment,
Exactly.
without delegitimizing it, without
Yep.
decertifying it, without de-authenticating it. You don't have to do any of that to the metal. You can simply strategically place it. And what that does is, for the jeweler, it gives them a really simple method of applying the osmium. You know, now they can get more creative beyond that, sure. But if you want a metal, if you ever wanted something that was diamond-like and easy to set, well, I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be a lot easier to set crystallized osmium than it is a diamond.
Yeah.
You can't get away from that.
Right.
I mean, and so, and you don't, and that's not typically common, especially with your ultra rare metals like your ruthenium, your rhodium, your rheniums, your iridiums, your palladiums. I mean, heck, even finding a good platinum jeweler can be quite difficult. You know, finding a jeweler that's willing to work with platinum or has the ability at all, I mean, can be a bit of a struggle in itself. So, I mean, from platinum up, you're already dealing with the issue. But with crystallized osmium, it's a straight shot right into something, you know, and your creativity of the use of a flat disc is up to you, you know.
Yeah.
But and it's gorgeous without having to do anything to it. You know, you don't have to tone your silver to make it blue. You know, it's the only blue metal. Like, so right away you got the color benefit. You got the crystalline and reflectivity benefit. You've got the it's the most abrasive substance in the world. You know, it's or you know, you could use it like as what has Ian said before? It would be the world's greatest nail file.
Right.
You know, and it would last forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And so, like, that's kind of like the point is, like, you accidentally like stroke your metal across something. Well, it's nice because your metal, even those little pretty crystals, weren't affected. You know, you accidentally streak it, you know, abrase it onto something. You know, you accidentally drop some cleaning agent on it. You're not worried about it toning or tarnishing. You know, it drops into, you know, with a little bit of creative intent, it goes into your whatever you want to put it into.
Yeah.
I mean, and so again, kind of rewinding back a little bit, like some of the people we're expecting to be meeting with from the public, a lot of these people, although they do have interest in jewelry and may already have jewelry investment going on their own, they might not be. A lot of these guys aren't really trying to capitalize on the direct use of it. They want a bigger piece to save it for later for the expected market that will come.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, that's where I first got into it, was exactly that. And now I'm getting a bit more interested in the jewelry aspect of it, but that it didn't, you know, like I took it into mind, like, oh, not only is this a precious, tangible, rare, you know, metal that you know is noble and doesn't, you know, degrade, all these elements, but it also makes great jewelry. So although I had no initial thought of jewelry, except for getting my wife some put in jewelry, I guess I did do that right away. But like in my mind, I'm just thinking about it investment wise, just knowing, you know, seeing the potential value there is, you know, plus it can be added into jewelry, was just kind of an extra benefit in my opinion. Are you there?
Yeah, I came at it, you know, my first thought was a bullion.
Yeah,
all those are good.
That's where I came at it from too. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested in the fundamental precious values, you know, like what makes precious metals precious and valuable, rarity, density, corrosion resistance, and then you start asking, all right, well, does it have uses? Does it have use case? Like, does it actually have like technological or industrial values? And Osmium just goes check, 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 check.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is wonderful.
Yep.
And it's so rare. And now it's like ultra stable. Like, cause I'm a guy that collects certain metals that if you don't keep them right, man, it could be a real hazard,
Right.
And so I'm one of those that are very appreciative of a stable inert metal, that just like so easy to keep and preserve, and it's just ultra rare, and it met all the fundamentals of a good bullion for me. That at the end of the day, humans, we only have so much resource, and if you're going to want to use it, later, it's going to be worth more as time goes on, and I was also thinking about I'm a bit of a futurist, and a speculator. And the way I see it is like, dude, there are more people entering the precious metals market every day. There's a brand new person entering in, a brand new stacker, a brand new collector, a brand new nerd, that's just willing to buy up a metal, whether he wants it on the shelf or in a piece of jewelry, like the osmium. Like there's always going to be somebody in line to buy whatever. And with more and more people, entering the market all the time, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter how, like, even if you only have a small percentage of people dealing in this, let's say it's one to 1,000. And I think that's still kind of generous, actually. But let's just say 1 out of 1,000's interested. Well, there's a lot of freaking people out there, man. There's a lot of 1 in thousands out there.
Yeah.
I was in a chat room the other night, and I won't say what room, but there was a challenge to the market of these rare metals. Like rhodium was the one we were referencing at the moment. And the challenge is there doesn't really seem to be a market for it. And my response to that was, there's not a market for it because nobody hosts the market. But if you go to any bullion that deals in rhodium, and you go to the rhodium, it's always sold out. So like small market, thin market, whatever, minimal market, whatever you want to call it, market. Every time I go to those sites, rhodium sold out. It's never on the shelf long. Rhodium, iridium's hard to come by. People buy iridium. Like those that buy iridium, when it's available, they buy it. It's like an end of story thing. Like, oh, that's available. It won't be tomorrow. And that's how precious metals are. And people call it a thin market, but it's just because they don't really host the market. So what if only 1 in 1,000's interested? Did that 1 in 1,000 buy it or not?
Mm-hmm.
And with rhodium, that's probably actually a realistic figure. Maybe only 1 in 1,000 are even looking at the rhodium. But guess what? Every time they put it on the shelf, it's sold out.
Yeah.
And that's just the way the world works. They want that rare color of diamond. They want that extra special weave of cloth.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much of this type of food, like what's the mushroom everybody wants because they're so hard to find,
Yeah, my wife likes to pick mushrooms, so I hear about a few different kinds. But anyway, yeah.
But it's the way the world works, and so like I saw a future in markets alone.
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with the rarest of the rarest form of the rarest metal, You know, to me, it was an easy choice. You know, the only question I really had is what percentage of my portfolio do I want to commit to, you know?
Truffles.
Truffles, thank you. Yes.
Yep.
They're hard to find. You're going to pay more. No, not everybody's grabbing a truffle off the shelf. But every time you put the truffles on the shelf, the truffles are gone. You know, it's the way the world works, man. You ain't got to be a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, look at Pokemon cards, man. You know, Magic cards, or you know, the one rare action figure. You know,
Yeah.
I hope I didn't beat that horse to death, but
No, yeah, no, that's part of the market of it. So I'm excited for some new pieces to be coming in. It's taken a little while to get them, but I should have some more product soon. And I've got an exciting piece coming out soon that I'm anxious to show everybody. So yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, so that's pretty much the news that I wanted to go over. As far as I just want to get the word out there, and we'll be, you know, there'll be more coming out on this. I'll probably put out a little video, and we'll be doing more lives and talking a bit more about it. But it's coming up in a couple weeks now, so
you
yeah, I just wanted to get the word out there. Prototype
yeah.
Hot Wheels with Reline. Yeah, something like that. There you go.
You know, I'd love to get there and see that interest. You know, I think that'd make my day to start seeing, you know, some people that have been looking for an opportunity to see it.
Yep.
You know, I know not every people aren't going to travel from Arizona. You know, I get it. You know, but you know, in the area, who knows how many people have been studying in the background and went, oh my goodness, that's coming to Denver.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm hoping for. You know, these people excited about it. You know.
Yeah, and for sure, anybody who comes on here and is listening to this stream about it wants to know more, just reach out, like I say, and to Space Miner, throw out your email, Space Miner.
You can get a hold of me at Osmium Space 5000. So that's the Osmium Space, the number 5000 at gmail.com. And if you're in the Colorado area, I'll make sure to get you connected with TheBee over here at LLC, and just wherever you're at, I'll get you connected. Whoever's closest or whoever you want to deal with the most. So, yep, hit me up.
Yep, cool. So Osmium Space 5000 at Gmail. I'm gonna drop that in the
Thank you, B.
comments for you.
Yeah, and you know, if you guys got questions, or you know, maybe there was somebody you were looking to connect with, reach out. We're all well connected. You know, the institute partners. You know, we stay connected and informed with each other, and man, we're happy to send somebody's way. You know, so don't feel obligated to any particular institute member, but I can tell you, we're all going to tell you the same thing. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's cool is that we all have come at it from different angles and might have little bits of different views on where it's going or what's going to happen, but we're all, enthusiastic about the metal and understand the metal, and that's what these symposiums are for, is mostly for us to wrap our heads around it so we know what's going on and make sure we're not doing something wrong, and because we want to bring it to America. And but anyone else that's out there that's interested, reach out to us. Our emails are there in the chat. And yeah, that's what I got on that. And then, so moving on right quick at the end of this before I let you go, I know you got to get out of here too, Space Miner, but I wanted to show. So I have this, and I watched a video today with Yankee Stacking talking about he had a single magnetic slide up there, and he was talking about, you know, checking your coins and testing your coins. And he's like, he was just showing a single slide, and he was saying, you know, silver has this, you know, slow, drawn out slide. It doesn't just slide down really fast, nor does it just stick. And I wanted to point out that for me, the one slide is kind of not a good, I mean, it's better than nothing. But it's not a good test. Like, I would almost prefer just to get like this method where I take and attach neodymium magnets to the end of a stick. It's kind of a long stick, and then I put, you know, a swivel on the end. And then if you put your piece of, whoa, don't get close to that, but if you put it, you know, hang it right above a table, hang it right above a flat table, and then put your coin, you know, just in between that and your neodymium magnets on the end of the stick, then you can swing your stick and it will have an effect that you can easily read, just from swinging something at a, you know, a stable place over it. And you'll learn how the amount of attraction that each metal has. It's kind of the same as a single slide, but for me, the far and away best way to do it is to get a dual slide, because then you can take whatever metal you have. If you have one coin that you know is good, then you can test any of the future coins that you get. So, and you just put it on the coin slide with the other coin that, you know, you're wanting to test, and they should slide at that same speed. If they're a different metal, they're going to slide at a different speed. But if someone says, oh, well, you can know silver because it just slides sluggishly, well, yeah, but so does gold, and so does copper, and so does, you know, so you need that reference, in my opinion. But, you know, I made this slide, and I was thinking about it. It actually does a pretty good job. Once you know you have a legit coin of whatever metal, silver or gold, and you know, that silver and gold, they slide at different rates. But if I put up another silver coin, and they slide pretty much the same speed. If one rides the rail a little bit or whatnot, or you're concerned, you can just flip sides and double check it that way. But that makes it a lot easier having a dual method to check your pieces.
Yep, it's a control and a variable.
Right. And you can go all the way through all your metals, and one, like, where's my, okay, so here,
Was that your copper?
That was copper right there. Yep. That was copper. And then we can do it like a copper to gold. So there's a big variable. If it's a different metal or a different, like when I was anxious to try and just tried recently here was this is a 925. So that's sterling against a silver piece. And I thought, I wonder if that's not enough to make a difference, but it makes a big difference. So
yeah, that's significant.
The sterling to the silver. And then you say, well, how do you know what if that's not sterling? Well, now here's two sterling pieces. And the capsules aren't exactly the same. You know, if you make the capsule the exact same, you'll get even more even, but it should give you a rough idea. See, now you got two, those are pretty much the same speed. And again, with a dual, if one goes a little faster than the other, maybe it's riding the rail a little bit or hitting a wrinkle, you can swap it around. And again, little variance from the capsule, you know, friction might make a difference, but overall, yeah, see, this has a big dimple on the back. But it's much closer than, like, I mean, you can tell it's the same metal by doing that. So surprisingly, 3.9 silver has a big variance to 9.25 silver. So just from that much variance alone, you can tell whether you're dealing with a legit coin or not. And I think you can do this. I brought some 90% down. I was going to check too. These are so nasty, I don't even want to run them down my... And so that is one more thing that I am doing. I believe Space Miner is doing as well, is I brought some 90% to run on this slide. But this is probably one of the few times you're going to be seeing 90% here, because I'm moving over to the pure metals movement.
And there it is.
And we're just going to be dealing with pure metals, 98 plus to deal with the ancient pure silver. The ancient silver coins I deal in are measured generally at 98 or above percent. And so that's where we're starting, or 3.9's fine, or 4.9's fine, or like with Osmium, 5.95 point plus 5.95 plus percent. So the pure metals movement is a new thing, but I wanted to see how this 90% is moving really slow.
Yeah, roughly the same rate.
So yeah, and one might have a little bit more wear than the other. But anyway, point being, it's easy enough to tell whether you're dealing with legit coins. If one of those was fake, one would be sticking or way faster, or, you know, yada yada. And if one's a little off, you can probably tell by wear. But the point is the variable is what really dials it in for you. That's what makes it knowledgeable. And then you can also, you know, use your calipers to measure the width, and then put it on a scale. And between those three things alone, you pretty much have nothing to worry about. And really, this is a quick test that will solve 90% of your worry right here.
Sure beats drilling, scratching, and acid etching, huh?
Yes, exactly, right? And I mean, you can leave it in the capsule, you know, and just get even capsules and leave it in the capsules and do it. And you can even do, I don't know if I have it here.
No, I think if a guy would like had a little shop, you know, and he wanted to just like scan customers' rounds as he was buying them,
Yeah.
you know, or a guy was doing a little street deal, he could set that up and just funnel them through, and whatever makes it to the bottom in the same timing,
Exactly,
you know, go on to the next step, or it could be called good, you know, whatever you felt like.
Yep. And so
I do like the control measure, you know, because otherwise you're back to the same problem. You just have to know and learn it.
And be estimating, and what angle, see, do I have my slide set up at? Because if I put it at more steep of an angle, it's going to be a little bit faster. And if I put it at less angle, it's going to be slower. So that throws your mind off a whole nother level. But you can get rid of all of those things just by putting a dual slide there. And then it doesn't matter what steepness you have, because it's the same for the variable on the other side.
Yep, for the control.
For the control, yeah. And so like here, you can even do, those are bars.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That was a great example.
So yeah, whatever method, as long as you have one that you know is legit, you're good to go. So if you have a silver coin and a copper, and one is coated. I think these are actually close. The copper and the silver, I think, is where they're actually pretty close when you run these together, if I remember right. Yeah, these are hard to tell, which is kind of a problem with the copper. But that's where the weighing and the measuring takes care of that. So it's kind of a combination, and you need to know how they act. You need to know that silver and copper are close, because then you can take those to those other measurements to go ahead and wean it out the rest of the way. But once you get used to running a few of these, you figure out, like, and platinum has no magnetism. Platinum is, I should have brought a couple platinums, but I didn't think of it. But platinum just has no magnetism. And so does osmium, has no magnetism. So, but you know, once you learn your metals, you can walk through these things and not worry about it. And you can easily tell, it's very easily to tell a 40% from a 90%, because you're dealing with, you know, big differences in value,
weights and sizes,
magnetism, and so it's actually, aside from, and then I want to Tiger Stacker has this whole method that he swears by, which is, and I've heard of it before, I just feel like it's so much work to get there. The water where you put your
the displacement,
and that's actually really accurate too. It's just that it's kind of like messy and a lot to it, in my opinion. But it is actually, if you run through these other methods and you're still questioning it, then run it through the water, and like when you do those, you'll pretty much ruling out everything. Which is another great point to osmium that Space Miner had brought up, which is, you know, osmium is something that you can't replicate. You can't put a heavier metal in the most dense metal that exists. You can't fake it. And that
right.
also let alone the built-in code that you can't fake. Like, it's double, triple unfakeable, tied to your name. You know, even if it wasn't, you couldn't replicate it because of its attributes. So
right, attributes alone, like the whole online system, if it disappeared tomorrow and you're left with the metal, you still have so many identifying characteristics, everything from the crystal angles to the color to the, you know, like you said, the density measurements. Like if you wanted to do a water density measurement, I mean, that'd be pretty revealing, you know. You can't fake it. And again, with, like you were pointing out, the Institute keeps them flat. One of the reasons they keep them so flat and thin is because they don't want there to be any room for like tungsten loading, as an example. You know, it's one of the measures to prevent it. It just makes it more difficult for them. So even if they could somehow stuff it, the apparent size of it would be so ridiculous, you know, that you wouldn't fall for it.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And then, you know, that, and you put a magnet near it, and you're going to notice an instant difference.
Yep.
You know?
Hey, Silverboy Blues, welcome in. Jail Draper, good to see you guys.
Yeah. And again, the kind of work that you'd go through just to make it even look similar, you know?
Right.
I mean, it's not even worth your money at that point.
You're going to get caught up out of it anyway. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and you know, it was interesting. Ian brought out a good point. He found some and bought it off eBay, and because it was cheap, somebody was putting it up cheap, and he bought it, and now they're running the picture through the Osmium Institute to make sure, you know, see its background, but to make sure it's legit, you know. But all of that is done with, you know, just a picture and a few emails, and so
yeah, that picture that you have up there on this advertisement right here, that picture right there has enough information in it to identify that piece.
Right. Yep.
That's enough. like, I mean, it could be a tough search with that as it is, but no, if you have any high definition, high resolution photo of it, you know, really at the end of the day, all you kind of need is a patch of that piece.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
10,000 times more security feature than your fingerprint per square millimeter. You know.
Yep. Yep.
That means a 2 millimeter square has over 20,000 times as much security factor as your fingerprint. You know.
Yeah.
For the same size.
Yep.
You know, so you catch one small patch of it, and there's a lot of information in a very small patch of a picture.
You should explain how you came into Osmium, and one of the reasons you liked it was for the security purposes, and you were struggling a little bit with it. You should explain that a little if you want to the audience here.
Yeah, you know, I started out with silver as a basics, you know, and then wanted to start moving into higher values like platinum and gold, and securing it, you know, making sure I wasn't about to get ripped off, you know, was like a real challenge to me. So for like the gold, as an example, I only bought the Arger bars with the hologram, you know, and it was like, for me, the only way to even feel cozy about it, I had to buy the Arger bars, and I had to get them from a bullion, you know, and like have.
And why did you like the Arger bar?
Well, the because of the hologram, the security feature of the hologram, you know,
the hologram.
Okay. Yeah, and the purity of the metal, and like Arger gold is pretty easy to see the difference between that and some other golds. Okay. You know, the color of it seems more identifiable, but I don't know, maybe it was just the way it looked up against the holograms. But again, it was about the security feature, like trying not to doing everything in my power not to get ripped off.
Yeah,
you know, like YouTube's full of rip-offs.
To hear that you're so worried about getting ripped off that you used that hologram as one more safety step for you. And I was kind of surprised to hear that, but very interested in hearing your outlook on it. And then, you know, talking about Osmium and how, I mean, it eliminates all those issues for you, right? Like,
well, right. Like, the part of this story though is like, I'll never forget ordering, you know, like my first like really large order of silver, and being in an absolute panic, you know, that I just got ripped off, and running to like my jeweler buddy and like I trashed a good portion of my silver just to validate the rest of the silver. And, you know, that's kind of like a destruction of investment. But it was the only way to know. But yeah, and then I went to your channel. I was just on your channel one night, and you had Ian on, and Ian started talking about crystallized osmium, and I was one within moments, just from like the fundamental values of a precious metal, you know, osmium just rocking those categories. But then when he started talking about, you know, this crystalline code and how it's been, you know, scanned and identified, and you have all your OICs, you know, your identification codes, and the fact that I could just like literally go clickety click, here's this number, that's my piece, and say, like, order that piece, and say, this is the one I want, not just like, and whatever comes, this is the one I want. That was like cool. I felt like I had a little more control over the situation. When it got to me, it was as simple as typing in the code, looking at the piece, looking at the images, and saying, yeah, you know, and again, the metal kind of validates itself. You know, the characteristics of the metal validate themselves beyond that. And I just remember having like no stress about the whole thing. I just felt like relieved about the whole thing, because like the entire process, whenever I was buying it, was like ultra transparent to me. Yep. Like where you can literally sort through your price, your weight, your shape, you know, your sparkle quality, you know, like, or your sparkle value,
Great.
you know, and there was like, it was so customizable, like to my purchase needs, like that it was easy for me to pick out the right piece. And then like, again, the validation of the piece, and then the OCC code, the customer code, the lockout code.
Yeah.
I mean, like right away, I got delivered a lockout code with that. Whenever I put in that code, I've got a certificate. So even if a cop pulled me over, I could prove, hey, cop, this is mine.
Yeah. There's no driving down the road with a few monster boxes of silver, which has happened. This has happened where people have gotten pulled over with monster boxes of silver and had it seized. Just the way they seize cash, they seize the metal. And that's the one thing that metal is one of the reasons I like it, is because it's just money. It's why pirates liked it too, is kind of the issue. Like once you have it, you have money. And no one knows about where you got it, how you got it. It's just money because it is money. And so, but that's the problem about driving down the highway with your monster box of silver. If you happen to get pirated by some rogue cop, unless you have that all documented, and you might get it back through court. But a lot of people, how they can pull strings in the system, and you just can't get that back. Whereas if you have a $30,000 disc of Crystalline and Osmium, you can travel with that and feel safely. And like that's one of the great things about it too, is flying with it, traveling internationally with it. There's no worry about having it seized or having to worry about proof of where it comes from. All that's documented and problem solved.
Yeah, I mean, civil asset forfeiture is a very real thing. And the process goes is they've just got to have some level of suspicion that this is involved in something dastardly. And so when people got a wad of cash sitting there and they ain't got a receipt to account for every dollar, that's all the cop needs.
Yep.
And it's your job then, which is completely backwards in my mind, but it's then your job to go to the courts and fight to prove you own that money. And if you can't prove you own that money, you don't get it back. You see? And so like I love to point out, like you just said, like the airport traveling, right? You go to the airport and you've got a disc of crystallized osmium worth, I don't know, $100,000. Well, how much gold are you going to have in your pocket? You're going to have a kilo of gold in your pocket. You know what I mean? Or I don't know what I don't know how much gold you need for $100,000 right now, but it's a pretty sizable chunk. So right away, you're carrying more volume, more weight. Yeah, or same weight, more volume, right? Or no, more volume, more weight. And then you get to the counter and they say, pull out your pockets, and you pull it out and they say, where'd you get that? Yeah. And one of them you go, oh, click, click, click. Yep. Here it is, tracked from the source to the hand.
Yep.
Like Institute can prove that metal from the source to your hand.
Yep.
And then there's gold. Where'd you get that? Is that yours? Can you prove that's yours? Can you prove you acquired that legally? Can you prove that's...
Yeah, and that's why this is such great diversity within the metals, right? Because you want some of those metals for the anonymity of it, but yet it's also good to have some diversity over here, like we're saying, where you can travel to another country or down the road if needed with a large piece of money that can't be seized from you. Like even cash, it's better than cash driving down the road in case the asset forfeiture thing happens. So like this is more great reasons for it. But
well, and then there's another thing about osmium too, is it's not on the target list of seizable metals. They really haven't like put that one on their radar yet.
Yeah.
And it's because there's not enough of it to make a difference to them. Like in a sense. Now they're still, like, our government strategically purchases osmium, just for the record. Every time America purchases osmium, our government is matching a certain percentage of our domestic income. right? So if America buys $1 million of osmium tomorrow, our military strategically purchases 5 to 10% of that. So every time you buy it, it goes up. You know what I mean? Just a little bit more because of that.
Yeah.
But what's more though is, listen, when the governments make legal monetary sanctions and they're going to do whatever they're going to do, you know, cash is, your bank account is first, followed by your cash. You know, your bank account, your cards, your cash, that's first. And then they might still yet come after that gold or silver again. Might. You know,
and there's ways to handle that and issues to go down that, but again, that's why it's good to diversify into crystalline osmium, because whatever you're going to do with your other metals, which I still advise you should have those as a base, but
yes,
you do have that third leg or fourth leg or whatever of osmium that is a whole different animal for many different ways. And even from the authorities stand, they don't know how to, like we were saying, they don't know how to handle that either. So it's a fortress within itself, and a great diversification among the metals. And before this comment gets too far off, I want to comment. Triple Eight the Great says, now I am gold, platinum, palladium, osmium, nickel, copper, and lead. And that's great. And that's what, with this new pure metals movement that I am putting out there, you know, I'm not going to be, and I'm not, firstly, I want to say I'm not against any of the other metals, like the 90%, you know, I just ran some down my slide here. I have a bit of 90%. I'm not saying you shouldn't have any of the other metals, but I'm just allowing this for marketing and easy understanding of anyone new coming into precious metals that doesn't understand all of the different, you know, values and amounts. And again, not that there's a problem with that, but if you've been in it all, if you're Triple Eight the Great and you know all the different values of all the different years, because you've been alive for the whole time we've had money like that, and you understand all those different values. But you know, for us that are you know, so much younger than Triple Eight the Great, you know, that don't know all those values very well and don't know it like the back of our hand and don't want to have to confuse themselves all with it. It's tough enough for them to come in and know the difference between gold, silver, copper, osmium, platinum, these basics. And by going to the pure metals, it makes it, you know, in my mind, a lot easier for someone who's new. And now that we have the availability, like we used to have pure gold like this, you used to want to have it made like the American Eagle that is like 90% gold. And there's 1 ounce of gold in the American Eagle, but it's 1 ounce heavy because it's 90%, it's 10% silver. So, but one of the reasons they did that is so that when you're slapping your piece of money down on the bar to buy your bottle of booze or whatever, like they did back in the day, you know, it's going to scratch some of that soft metal if it's pure gold. But nowadays we have capsules, you know, and you can put it in a capsule and not have to worry about your 24 karat. And again, that takes away all of the questioning. Or if you go to sell it, well, wait, I got a bit, what's the percentage in it? You got to figure out the percentage and then do the, you know, adding, subtracting, then put the premium, you know, it just makes it a lot more work than just always cut and dry pure. It takes all that question out of it. And again, the main reason that I'm getting into the pure metals movement is because of osmium. And we've got the 98% plus, 999, 9999, 99999, 5 plus, which is what osmium is, 5 nines, 5 plus. So, but when I started working with osmium, it made me think a little bit about jewelry. And I've always had a big problem with jewelry in America because everyone has always complained all my life about, well, yeah, you don't want to get jewelry for investment. Why? Well, because, you know, when you go to resell it, you won't get that premium back because the metal is debased. It's got base metals with it that are not precious, and that's where all the value is tied up in. So they may coat something with gold, and then that's the other thing. Over time, you know, the color changes on it and seeps through and doesn't look good anymore. Plus, now you go to weigh it, and they're like, well, there's not much weight of gold there because it's so devalued to begin with, and you lose all of your value in your jewelry pieces. And so that's why, like, if I shop jewelry for my wife, I go to Monet. Well, Monet is they only sell like 24 karat. Doesn't matter what it is, necklace, earrings, ring, it's all 24 karat. So if it's Monet, you don't even have to worry about, oh, well, what grade, you just know. And that's kind of what I'm wanting to promote, is just, this is somewhere where you can just get pure metal and you don't have to worry about devaluing it over time. If I do any jewelry with osmium, it's going to be pure. It's either going to be pure gold or pure silver or pure platinum, or, but, you know, yeah. So the pure metals now, the pure metals movement, that's a thing that I'm about. I think let's hear from Space Miner here. What does he think? Is he going to jump on board? Is he doing it as well, or what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, man, I think you and I are both pure metals movement, you know, and it's you know, and there's nothing wrong with a guy that likes to have bags full of mercury dimes, dude.
No.
I mean, I'd never liked a mercury dime more until I saw a bag full of them. You know, that's cool. But
Yep.
listen, like there are markets for everybody everywhere, and we're not dissing on somebody else's choices or investments, and we're not saying do or do not. What we're saying is that people like us, you know, we want to simplify this process and get it closer to the root structure of principal investment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that look, it's just it's easy to account for, it's easy to buy and sell, you know. It's and you don't lose your swinging power either, your percentage power, you know, as it's going up. You know, a 10 carat, you only get to count so much of that investment going up. So you got a ring that weighs literally 1 ounce. When gold goes up, you don't get to track your gold like that. You have to track it at 10 carat values now, which move differently than a 24 karat value. You know, that chart will literally look different, you know? And so, and then again, I think a lot of people get had. I think some people are actually getting taken advantage of on a regular basis, you know, because they just simply don't know, like the 1 ounce value thing, you know, like if a person didn't know gold very well, right? And somebody sells them a 1 ounce coin and it's only 90% gold, but it weighs 1 ounce. So they put it on their little scale and it says, well, it says 1 ounce gold, it weighs 1 ounce, and they think they got 1 ounce of gold. And then find out down the road, oh, you know, turns out that year of that coin is actually only 90% gold and it's not actually worth what you thought it was. You can move past all of that and just say, is it pure or not?
Yep. Exactly.
Is it pure or not?
Takes
and look,
all
for
the
me,
questioning out.
I've always been a pure metals guy. I collect a few 90%ers. I collect them. I don't stack them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying I like pure metals.
Yep, I do too. And it makes it so much easier. Takes all the questioning, all the confusion out for some little old lady who doesn't know it. You know, what percent, what do you add to that? And then what's the premium? And it's too much for them. Where if it's pure, there's just your basics. You got your price, you got what kind of metal that spot price is, and premium. Boom, that's it. Two easy things to follow and figure out. Not a whole bunch of calculating. You just got to know what gold spot is at, and it's on every precious metals, you know, site that there is. Gold, X amount, silver, X amount, platinum, X amount. You know, that makes it easy for you. Just easy to follow, no calculations, no. And then when you go to sell, no. That's the big problem for me. You go to the counter and you go to sell, and oh well, let me look at this jewelry and what grade. Let me find the carat on here, and oh, this design is not what it used to. Like, you can really just start docking them, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no haggling to it because you can't argue that. Whereas, who cares if the design has a scratch on it, if it's pure gold or not? Let's put that thing on the scale. We know we have value right out the weight gate. Then you can argue a little bit on premium or design or whatnot. But it really takes so much of the haggle and question and argument out of things that I can see being a new person into the metals and just wanting to go pure. Why? Now, again, I have 90% and I'm not against. I think it's actually a good idea to have some 90%, not bad at all. But again, there's not, in this day and age where we have such a vast variety of whether you want rounds or coins or, impurity of whatever kind of metal you want. And so it's a new
More
world.
again with the technology nowadays. Like, look, I get it. Back in the day, you really kind of needed to validate that metal. And there wasn't a lot of good ways, and there wasn't a lot of education towards this. And you couldn't pop onto YouTube like, hey, how do I validate this? You really did count on the integrity of that image. And that's helped what helped hold that value. But nowadays, I mean, we've got a million tests and a million tools to back it up. Like, we're a lot better educated than we were in the past. And a lot of these things are easier to spot, And if anything, it's easier to spot real stuff than it is to spot the difference between a 10 carat and a 14 carat.
Yes. Welcome in.
Is it pure or is it a 10 carat? Yeah, so.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just saying.
No, it wasn't. It was just an extension of it.
Welcome in, Knackers O'Reilly. Yeah, and for anyone who's in here now who didn't hear me earlier, we are having this upcoming Crystalline Osmium Symposium in Denver, the first ever in the U.S. And for anyone out there who's interested in crystalline osmium, wants to see various products, talk to jewelers, hear from the man himself who's creating it in the lab, get a hold of me or Space Miner or any of the Osmium Institutes. I have Colorado here, longlivecoins@gmail.com. Again, I'll put that in chat. And also spaceminer5000@gmail.com.
Osmium Space 5000.
Okay, we'll put them in the chat here. Osmium.
Yeah, whatever. Either one will get to you. Either one will get to me.
Cool.
So
yeah, reach out, and it is going to be available. We're trying to get it available to the public on a couple days, but probably for sure one day will be available. So definitely come to the public event. And if you want to hear even more, you want a more in-depth dive on it, you're really interested in it, reach out to me at longlivecoins@gmail.com. And Osmium Space 5000, did you say?
It is.
Space 5000@gmail.com.
That's it.
So reach out to either one of us, and yeah, we'll be happy to keep you in the loop.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what I had. Anything you want to throw in on top of that, Space Miner, before we wrap this up?
No. Thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention. Appreciate all the work you put into that too.
Yeah. Cool.
And thank you for hosting us in your home state of Colorado, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
It's cool to see Long Live Coins up there. Yeah, dude, Denver is such a powerhouse, an economic powerhouse. I don't think people realize that that eastern range that is huge. It's nearly a megalopolis, and so I'm excited to see who's going to pop out of the woodwork, and it's going to be in Colorado, so that's going to be a wonderful excuse to go drive the range. Maybe I'll cut through Veil for part of it or something.
Yeah. And hey, Emerald Co-Stacker, welcome in. Good to see you. Emerald, you should check out this new medal we have. We're having the first ever USA Osmium Symposium here in Denver, Colorado. We're going to have the German team over here, and we're going to be talking to the very man who creates it in the lab himself. It's a very, very unique, amazing, the most rare element that we know, the most dense and the most rare, the most noble of the precious metals. It's the 8th and final metal to be brought to the market. So yeah, if you're interested at all in it, we're going to be having the symposium here in Denver, so you're definitely welcome to come. If not, stay tuned. We're going to be having some live streams live during the event where we talk to other members. Hopefully I'll get some of the German team on, other members, and hear about why they got into it, why they're excited about it, their, the goods, the bads, the uglies, all those things. So yeah, I'm excited. Stay tuned. I'm just opening up some limited edition vinyl here, and as some of you may know, I do a live spin and bin on the weekend where I mix vinyl records and electronic music online while I sell metal. And this is something that is fun for me and unique for me. It is physical, and I've got 3 of each of a new vinyl album out, and there's only 300 made of each of these, and I have 3 of each. So I have one for backup if I try to do a backspin and it hops on the record and skips and scratches. So I get a backup for myself, but then I'll get one extra to sell, because if there's a really big hit on one of these records and there's only 300 copies made, you can put up that 3rd record down the road when it's sold out, and you're going to have value there for someone who spends vinyl only like me, and doesn't buy the 10-cent track online that's smashed into takes all the real music out and smashes it and makes it loud so that it can be an MP3. And we have to spend real money on vinyl. It's expensive. But that's what's cool, is it is unique. It is a physical product. Of this particular batch, there's only 300 of each. So it's something that's interesting as well, and exciting for me. I am going to be, I believe, spinning at this symposium. So another reason to come check it out live for sure.
That's going to be cool, man.
Yeah. And
live performance.
Another amazing thing is one of the first uses for osmium was a needle for records, and it was for phonograph records, the old wind-up crank style, which I am looking into. I'd like to get a nice condition old wind-up phonograph record player, and they made tips out of osmium because it's so hard. It's so again, since I'm a DJ and use, vinyl and record tips and needles, as we call them. So I thought that was cool. I'm going to try. I found some online that you can still buy new in the original packaging, osmium needles for phonographs. So I'm going to pick some of those up as an example when I'm showing my osmium off, and can correlate it and tie it in like that. But
dude, that's so cool. Spinning osmium needles at an osmium conference, man, that's awesome.
I would love to get some in the modern form. If I could get some needles made out of osmium in the modern form and play a set of osmium, an osmium set from, that would be so cool. But yeah, welcome in 3D Woodworks. Good to see you. Appreciate that. And yeah, so yeah, this is another thing, and these are a lot like coins in a lot of ways. Not only are they both round, but you can't touch the record. If you touch it anywhere where you have the little grooves, I don't know if you can see it right there or not, but that's what will take your fingerprint, just like a coin will stand out. You know, the first time you touch your finger to a coin, it's gonna leave that fingerprint imprinted. And it's the same with record. If you touch that face, then it gets that fingerprint there, and over time, you know, dust will settle on it, and it will. That's how you'll start to hear some background noise when you're playing it. And you want good, clean, crisp sound. So the key with vinyl is to not only get good inner sleeve that won't scratch when you put it in and out, which you have. Like this doesn't have an inner sleeve, so I'll have to add a clean inner sleeve to this if it's deserving of one. But again, you can't, you know, it's the same way. You gotta treat these physical things with care. You can't touch them. That's what makes them more valuable. If you put it up online for resale, it needs to be in mint state, or in what state is it, and how bad is it, and how bad have you handled it, and you know, so all those things apply, just like in coins. So anyway, I'm rambling now, so I'll quit. But yeah, it's fun for me anyway, and exciting, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we ever have a big electrical malfunction, I think you're going to be real appreciative of those. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of my friends who I bought his, he was one of my DJ friends, and he went electric when it went electric, you know, when you had the ability to start just playing MP3s. And so I bought all his vinyl off of him, and he was telling me a while back that his stuff got lost and erased, and he couldn't find it for like the longest time. He was able to pull it back up on a backup system, but like nightmare, I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep if that might happen to me. Like I have nightmares about, you know, my vinyl getting stolen at a show, or like, you know, it's just. And so for to think that, you know, you're going to do a big show and that all your stuff got swiped, and you know, oh, horrible nightmare.
Yeah, it's like a carpenter losing his tool belt, you know?
Right.
That's a big deal, man.
Triple H says he used his for freebies. For frisbee. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and with shipping and vinyl is a whole thing. And like this is great. It comes inside a box, and then it has this protector guard, and it's in plastic, so they don't just fall. So you have to kind of. So this is good packaging. And yeah, sometimes you'll order a new record and spend a lot of money on it, and they put like no effort into packaging it, and it gets ruined in shipping, and ridiculous. Anyway, so some metals people know about shipping problems, and it's to a whole new level in vinyl. So anyway, but
yeah, relatable though, huh?
Yeah, relatable. All right, cool guys. Well, that's all I had. I think I know Spaceman, we gotta let you go. I know you're busy, so we'll get off here. But thanks.
Yeah, I'm crunching a little bit.
Thanks for coming up and talking to us about it. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And thanks for coming up here and getting the word out. And like I say, I'm sure we'll have a few more talks before it goes away. But it's going to be in a few weeks here, a couple weeks. So. Anybody who's interested, get in contact with us, and if not, stay tuned. There will be some good info coming down the line here. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will catch you all on the next one.
There, y'all.